It's 2:47 in the morning. She's sitting on the bathroom floor of a Motel 6 off Route 9 in rural Georgia. No phone, $43 in cash, a bruise along her left cheekbone she's already rehearsing how to explain. She's 24 years old, and she is completely alone. She makes a decision on that bathroom floor. Not the decision you'd expect. She doesn't call the police. She doesn't call her mom. She doesn't cry. She decides, quietly, clearly, in a way she later described as almost calm, that she is going to disappear. And she is going to become someone entirely new. This is the story of a woman I'll call Maya Chen. A real woman, a real story, with details changed only to keep her safe. Stay with me until the end, because this story is not what you think it is. Maya grew up in Valdosta, Georgia. Population 56,000. The kind of place where everyone knows your last name and your grandmother's last name too. She was the middle of 3 kids. Her dad drove trucks. Her mom taught 3rd grade at the elementary school 2 blocks from their house. By every measure, Maya was the kid who had it together. Valedictorian of her high school class. Division II cross-country scholarship to Georgia Southern, a 4 through her freshman year. Her mom called her the anchor, the person in the family who didn't panic, who showed up, who held things steady when everything else was shaking. She met Daniel her sophomore year. He was a graduate student, 28 to her 20. Dark eyes, easy laugh, the kind of person who remembered small details, your coffee order, the name of your dog, what you'd said in passing 2 weeks ago. He made me feel seen, she told me, like I was the most interesting person in every room. She fell hard. By the end of that first summer, she had moved into his apartment near campus. And the first crack, small, barely visible, appeared about 6 months in. He didn't like her going out with her roommates without him. "You don't need to be around people like that," he said, casual, almost gentle. She told her best friend, Priya, not to worry about it. "He just loves me a lot," she said. By the end of that year, she had stopped calling Priya altogether. Here's what most people don't understand about coercive control. It doesn't start with violence, it starts with love. Or something that looks exactly like love. Control of who you see, concern about who you talk to, jealousy dressed as devotion. And by the time you recognize it for what it is, you're already 3 years in. Your whole world is one person, and that person has made themselves impossible to leave. Researchers at the University of Michigan found that the average survivor of intimate partner violence experiences 7 incidents before leaving permanently. 7. Not because they're naive, not because they're weak. Because every single time they think about leaving, they do the math, and the math is terrifying. The risk of serious harm doesn't go down when you leave an abusive relationship. It spikes. Studies from the Centers for Disease Control show that the period immediately after leaving is when a survivor faces the highest risk, up to 75% more likely to be seriously hurt in the weeks following departure. Maya knew this, not from research, from experience. She'd tried to leave at 22, and he'd found her at her sister's house in Macon within 3 days. She tried again at 23. She made it 2 weeks before he showed up at her workplace. So when she planned her 3rd attempt, she planned it like an escape. She memorized the number for the National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-7233. She didn't write it down anywhere he could find. She kept $40 in cash, $10 at a time, over 4 months, inside the lining of an old pair of running shoes he never touched. She waited. It happened on a Wednesday in October. She doesn't remember what triggered it. She's tried over the years to identify the specific moment, the word, the look, the thing that finally made something inside her go completely still. She can't find it. It was like a switch, she told me. 1 second I was scared, the next second I just wasn't anymore, I was done. He fell asleep at 11 p.m. She waited until 2:30. 1 bag, passport, Birth certificate, she'd hidden a copy in the running shoes. Her social security card, the $43. She walked out the door without looking back. She walked 2 miles down Route 9 to a 24-hour gas station in the rain. Used the payphone outside. She'd made sure she knew where it was weeks earlier and called the hotline number she'd memorized. The woman who answered was named Cecile. Maya still remembers that name. Cecile stayed on the line with her for 40 minutes, arranged a pickup to a shelter in Tifton, 38 miles away. A volunteer named Gerald drove a beat-up Corolla and didn't ask a single question the entire ride. The most terrified she had ever been in her life. And something that took her weeks to name. Relief. The shelter had 12 beds. Maya got the last one. She didn't sleep that night. She lay there listening to other women breathe in the dark and thought, I have nothing. I have no phone, no job, no apartment, no plan, no idea what comes next. And then she thought, but he doesn't know where I am. That was enough. For that night, that was enough. I want to stop here and be honest with you about something. Because this is the part of the story that most videos skip. Leaving is not the ending. Leaving is barely the beginning. Maya spent the next 10 months in transitional housing in Tifton, Georgia. Shared room with 2 other women. Strict curfew. Rules she found humiliating, sign-in sheets, mandatory group sessions, a list of approved visitors that was basically empty because she had no one left. She had a 3-year gap in her employment history she didn't know how to explain. She had PTSD, formally diagnosed by a counselor at the shelter. That made car doors slamming sound like threats and made eye contact with strangers feel genuinely dangerous. She had panic attacks in grocery stores. She cried in the shower so the other women wouldn't hear her. She applied for 61 jobs over 5 months. Got 4 interviews. 0 offers. And I want to say something directly because I think it matters. There were days she thought about going back. Not because she missed Daniel, she didn't. But because survival is exhausting. And the familiar, even when the familiar is dangerous, can feel safer than the terrifying unknown. If you have ever been in a hard situation and thought about going back to something you knew was wrong for you, just to stop the pain of not knowing what comes next. That makes complete sense. That doesn't make you weak. That makes you a person who is in pain. The fact that Maya didn't go back isn't because she was stronger than you. It's because on the days she almost did. Cecile happened to call to check in. Or her roommate at the shelter, a woman named Dolers, made her laugh so hard she forgot to be afraid for a few minutes. Recovery isn't a solo act. It never is. Month 11. Maya enrolled in a free small business basics course through a local community outreach program. 12 weeks, Tuesday nights, in a church basement in Tifton. She wasn't sure why she signed up. She didn't have a business idea. She just needed somewhere to be. Week 3, the instructor, a retired accountant named Mr. Odom, asked everyone to take out a notepad and write down one thing they knew how to do that the world needed. Maya stared at the page for a long time. The woman next to her wrote graphic design. The man in front wrote carpentry. Maya wrote, I know how to survive things that other people don't think they can. Mr. Odom collected the notepads and read a few out loud, anonymously. When he read Maya's, the room went quiet. And a woman in the back row, a woman named Teresa, who Maya had never spoken to, started to cry. Not dramatically, just quietly with her hand over her mouth. After class, Teresa found Maya outside. That was you, wasn't it? She said. It wasn't a question. They talked for 2 hours in the parking lot. Teresa was 3 months out of her own situation. She'd been looking for proof that it got better. Maya kept that notepad page. She keeps it still. The following week, she called the Tifton shelter and asked if they needed volunteers. They said yes immediately. She started answering phones 2 hours a week. She was extraordinary at it. Not because she had training, Because when a woman called at 3 a.m. not knowing if she should leave, Maya could say, from personal experience with complete honesty, "I know how this feels. I've been on this exact floor. Here's what I did."